The black waitress had spent years working double shifts at a small diner, earning just enough to scrape by. But she never allowed exhaustion to dull her kindness. So when she saw a frail boy in a wheelchair, shivering in the rain outside, she didn't hesitate. She brought him inside, gave him food, and made him feel safe. Across the street, a billionaire was observing their every move. That billionaire was the boy's father, and her simple act of compassion was about to unlock doors she never dreamed existed. Rain poured in relentless sheets, hammering the pavement of Lexington Avenue and turning the cracked sidewalk into a slick, uneven hazard. Streetlights flickered, their dim glow barely piercing through the run-down buildings that flanked the street. It was late, past 11, and the diner should have been closing. But Serena Carter was never the type to turn someone away. Not when they needed help. Not when the world had already done enough to knock them down. She was wiping down the counter, her chestnut-brown skin damp with sweat after a brutal 12-hour shift, when she noticed the small figure outside. A boy slumped in a battered wheelchair, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, a worn-out coat doing little to protect him from the cold. He sat just beneath the neon Lexington Diner sign, hands clutching a frayed blanket that barely kept the chill at bay. Serena frowned and set her rag aside. She pushed open the diner's door, shivering as the icy wind cut through her. "Hey, sweetie," she called softly, crouching beside him. "What are you doing out here all alone?" The boy flinched at first, then slowly looked up, his wide blue eyes uncertain and searching. "I'm waiting for my dad," he murmured, his voice nearly drowned out by the rain. Serena looked up and down the street. No one, just the flickering glow of a pawn shop's cash for gold sign across the road and the sound of tires slicing through wet asphalt. "Where is he?" she asked, concern edging into her voice. The boy shrugged, clutching the blanket tighter. Serena let out a slow breath and bit her lip. She'd seen nights like this too many times. Too many kids waiting for someone who wouldn't come. "Well, you can't stay out here. Not in this storm." She offered a warm smile. "Come inside with me, okay? It's warm, and I've got something special just for you." He hesitated a moment. Then, slowly, he gave a small nod. Serena gently took hold of the wheelchair's handles and rolled him inside. The warmth embraced them instantly, the scent of buttered toast and burnt coffee wrapping around them like a familiar blanket. She guided him to a booth near the radiator and draped a fresh towel over his shoulders before crouching down to meet his eyes. "I'm Serena," she said, flashing a friendly grin. "What's your name, sweetheart?" The boy sniffled, his fingers curling tightly around the edge of the blanket. "Daniel." Serena nodded, clearly approving. "That's a strong name. You hungry?" He nodded shyly. Serena didn't wait for more. She was already heading toward the kitchen, pulling out a loaf of sourdough, slicing it with the practiced ease of a woman who had done it 1,000 times. A few minutes later, she set a steaming plate before him. Grilled cheese, golden and crisp, with a bowl of tomato soup on the side. Her favorite comfort meal. The one her grandmother made when the nights stretched too long and the world turned too cold. "This one's on me," she said, tucking a napkin into his lap. Daniel's eyes lit up as he took his first bite, the cheese stretching in long, gooey strands. "This is the best thing I've ever had," he whispered, his voice filled with something close to awe. Serena chuckled, watching him devour the sandwich. "Good food makes everything better," she said with a lightness that masked the familiar ache in her chest. The ache that always appeared when she saw someone so young, so small, already burdened by the weight of the world. What she didn't realize was that someone was watching. Across the street, a sleek black Bentley sat idle in the shadows, its tinted windows reflecting the diner's neon lights. Inside, Raymond Holt sat silently, his sharp gray eyes locked on the scene unfolding before him. At 46, Raymond had built his empire on control, precision, and a ruthless sense of purpose. Holt Dynamics was the lifeblood of Baltimore's tech industry, a billion-dollar machine driven by efficiency, not empathy. And Raymond, its CEO, had spent years ensuring that nothing, no emotion, no person, no weakness, could ever compromise that. And yet, here he was, watching, listening, thinking. Daniel was his son, and that woman, that black waitress in a cheap apron, working in a rundown diner, had just fed his son for free. Raymond's jaw clenched. He'd been delayed on a business call, an urgent matter with investors in Japan, and had told Daniel to wait by the diner for just a few minutes. He hadn't anticipated this. He reached for his phone and dialed quickly. "Nora," he said when his assistant answered. "Get to Lexington Diner. No suits, no heels. I need you there in 20 minutes. There was a pause. "Sir?" Raymond's grip tightened around the phone. "Find out everything you can about the woman who just fed my son." Then he ended the call. Inside the diner, Daniel was laughing for the first time that night, swinging his legs beneath the table, tomato soup stains on his chin. Serena wiped it away with a napkin, shaking her head. "Messy eater, huh?" Across the street, Raymond continued to watch, his expression unreadable, his mind already calculating. He didn't believe in kindness. He believed in obligation. And whether she realized it or not, Serena Carter had just placed him in her debt. Serena wiped her hands on her apron, glancing toward the diner window. Rain traced crooked lines down the glass. Daniel was finishing his sandwich, his fingers warm now, no longer trembling. The guarded look on his face had begun to lift. She felt quiet satisfaction bloom in her chest. One more act of kindness. For her, that was enough. Then the door swung open. Cold air swept in, followed by a woman in jeans and a hoodie, blonde hair tucked under a faded Orioles cap. She moved sharply, taking everything in with a glance. Serena had worked in this business long enough to recognize someone who wasn't here for the coffee. The woman's gaze landed on Daniel. She softened her expression, crouching beside him. "Hey, champ, time to go," she said lightly. But something in her tone felt too smooth. Daniel frowned, wiping his mouth. "But I haven't finished my milk." The woman, Nora, tilted her head with a smile. "You can take it with you. Your ride's waiting." Serena folded her arms. "You know him?" Nora smiled, but her posture shifted. "Yeah, I'm his aunt." Serena turned to Daniel. "That true, sweetheart?" Daniel hesitated. Nora's jaw tightened. Serena crouched beside him. "You good, baby? You want to go with her?" Daniel clutched the napkin. "She's here for my dad. I guess I have to." Serena didn't move. She walked to the counter, grabbed a chocolate chip cookie, and slipped it into Daniel's hand. "For the road," she said. He grinned. "Thanks, Serena. You're the best." She watched as Nora led Daniel toward the door. Just before stepping into the rain, Nora glanced back. A warning. Across the street, the Bentley's headlights flashed. The rear door opened, and Raymond stepped out. When Daniel was buckled in the back seat, Raymond turned to Nora. "Well?" Nora exhaled. She didn't buy the aunt story, almost called me out. But she let him go. She didn't have a choice. You know how it is. A black woman making a scene, she would have been the one in trouble. Raymond stayed silent. She's not like the others, Nora added. He had seen it when Serena stepped into the rain without hesitation, when she treated Daniel like he mattered. She hadn't known it was his son, and she helped anyway. That made her dangerous. He slid inside the car. I want everything on her. Name, address, background, on my desk by morning. Nora hesitated. Sir, by morning. She nodded. Understood. The Bentley pulled away, the diner shrinking in the rear view. Raymond wasn't thinking about the city lights. He was thinking about Serena Carter and the debt he owed her. Serena trudged home that night, her sneakers soaked, the chill deep in her bones. The diner's tips weighed lightly in her pocket, but Daniel's grin stayed with her. Still, something gnawed at her. That woman's smile, Daniel's hesitation. It wasn't right. She climbed the stairs to her one-bedroom apartment on West Fayette Street. The heat barely worked. The walls were thin. She shut the door and leaned against it. She had learned not to get involved. But this felt wrong. Then, a knock. She stiffened. No one came by this late. Through the peephole, a man. Tall, broad-shouldered, in a black coat that probably cost more than her rent. His gray eyes were cold. Assessing. She didn't open the door. Who is it? A pause. Raymond Holt. The name meant nothing. What do you want? To talk. Her gut screamed no, but curiosity won. She opened the door just enough. I don't know you. Number, but you know my son. Her pulse skipped. Daniel, you're his father? A nod. I was across the street last night. She felt a chill. You were watching? I was. So what? You here to complain I fed your kid? No. He looked unreadable. I don't believe in charity, but I do believe in paying debts. He pulled an envelope from his coat and placed it on her table. She glanced at it. Thick, heavy. What is that? A job offer. She blinked. A what? Serena stared at the envelope. Her instincts told her to throw it back in his face. But her rent was overdue. The fridge was nearly empty. What kind of job? She asked. Raymond's voice was calm. One that pays well and requires discretion. Serena raised an eyebrow. Discretion? That sounds shady. It's legal, he said, but not simple. My son took to you. That's rare. Serena folded her arms. So, you want me to be his nanny? Raymond shook his head. Not exactly. He doesn't trust easily. I want you in his life, as a buffer, a presence, someone real. She frowned. You don't even know me. I will, he said. My team is already compiling your file. She stiffened. That's invasive. That's necessary. Serena looked at the envelope again. What if I say no? Then I thank you for your kindness and walk away. She studied him. There was no threat in his voice, just certainty, confidence, the kind people like her weren't allowed to have. I'll think about it, she said finally. He nodded once. Don't take too long. He left without another word. The door clicked shut behind him. Serena exhaled and sagged into the nearest chair. The next morning, she opened the envelope. It wasn't just a job offer. It was a contract, a salary that made her blink, benefits she'd never even imagined, and a non-disclosure agreement that spanned several pages. She didn't know what kind of world Raymond Holt lived in, but clearly he wasn't used to hearing no. Still, she wasn't ready to say yes. She needed advice, someone she trusted. She called Tasha. Girl, that man came to your house? Tasha's voice crackled over the phone. And offered you a job? What is this, a Netflix drama? It doesn't feel real, Serena admitted. Sounds like a blessing, or a setup. Exactly. You gonna take it? Serena hesitated. I don't know. Daniel's a sweet kid, but his dad, he's not someone you say no to lightly. Then maybe don't say no, Tasha said. Say yes, just on your terms. Serena stared at the contract again. Maybe this wasn't just a job. Maybe it was a door. 2 days later, she stepped into the Holt estate. It was less a house and more a fortress. Clean lines, cold beauty, security cameras in every corner. Raymond met her at the entrance. No handshake, just a nod. Daniel came bounding down the stairs. Serena. He hugged her waist. Her heart squeezed. Hey, baby, you doing okay? He nodded. Better now. Raymond watched. He said nothing. But Serena saw the shift in his eyes. She belonged here. Not because she fit, but because Daniel did. Weeks passed. Serena adapted. She learned the house, the rhythms, the silences. Raymond worked constantly, rarely home. Daniel thrived. He laughed more, slept better, ate without flinching. And Serena became his anchor. But it wasn't easy. There were rules, cameras, boundaries she couldn't cross. And then there was Raymond. He was a storm she couldn't read. Quiet, observant, dangerous, but never cruel. One night, Serena found him in the study, staring at a photo of a woman. She was Daniel's mother? She asked. Raymond didn't look up. Yes. She loved him? A pause. I believe so. Serena stepped closer. And you? His jaw tightened. She left. Serena didn't push, but she understood now. This man had been left behind, and he didn't trust love, only loyalty. One afternoon, Serena found Daniel sitting alone in the garden, tears streaking his cheeks. What's wrong, baby? He held up a drawing. I made it for Dad. But he never has time. Serena knelt beside him. He works a lot, but he loves you. Daniel shrugged. Doesn't feel like it. That night, Serena slipped the drawing onto Raymond's desk. The next morning, it was framed. Daniel beamed. Raymond said nothing, but Serena saw the difference. He was trying, in his own way. Trouble came in the form of a visitor, a man in a tailored suit, slick smile. Too many questions. Serena didn't trust him. Neither did Daniel. After he left, Raymond summoned her. He's my lawyer, he explained, but he's also ambitious. And he doesn't like you here. Why not? Because you don't owe me anything. That makes you unpredictable. Serena nodded. I'm not leaving. Raymond met her eyes. Good. Winter came. The house grew quieter. Raymond grew softer. One evening, he brought Serena tea. Not a word, just a gesture. She accepted. They sat in silence. It was the most intimate moment they'd shared, and it terrified her because she was beginning to care. And she didn't know what he felt, if anything. Then came the night Daniel fell sick, a high fever, delirium. Serena stayed at his side, wiping his forehead, whispering comfort. Raymond didn't sleep. He paced, called doctors, demanded results. At dawn, the fever broke. Daniel slept. Raymond sat beside him, hands trembling. Serena covered his hand with hers. For once, he didn't pull away. Thank you. Thank you, he said hoarsely. She squeezed his fingers. Always. In that moment, something changed. Not spoken, but felt. A shift, a beginning. And maybe, just maybe, the start of something real.